For the people that are way over there, I invite you to come center so you actually can see some of the things that we're going to talk about. And I'm going to be one of those few speakers that actually asks you to get your phone out because we're going to play together. Who likes to play?
Me!
I know, right? Okay. So let's go ahead and get the presentation on the screen, and then we'll start off with how you can play. I'm going to go back. So we're going to text. I'm going to ask some questions throughout the presentation. You're going to text in your responses, and they're going to come up on the screen. Part of the reason that I do that is because I'm going to ask you how you feel. I'm going to ask about money. And sometimes that's really hard for us to share in a public space, but your answers are totally anonymous. But it does help me. So do y'all remember the Choose Your Own Adventure books? Yes. Okay. If you don't know what they are, there's these little books about some mystery or crime or something to be solved, and Jane goes to the door, and she's looking, it says, "Do not enter." And it says, "Jan should enter. Turn to page 64. Or it says, "Jan should read the sign and heed the warning. Turn to page 78. And eventually you die in the book, which is not maybe the best thing, or something gets you. But it's always fun to me to choose my adventure. And even when I got to the end and I was like, I didn't like that ending, I went back. I went back and made different choices, right? Because that's what we can do. I don't like the ending, I'm going to make new choices. So this is helps me create an adventure for you here. So everybody's got the ability to do this? Yeah? You should get, within a couple of seconds, a response. We're good? We're going to move on. All right? So we are going to talk about 6 proven ways to find hidden profit in your business. But I was telling Carrie this morning, I missed this morning's session because after being here all day yesterday, going out for a great dinner, I changed the crap out of this because I knew what you needed to hear next. And so we're going to do more in the 6. It's actually pretty juicy when it comes in here, but we should have plenty of time to do that and hopefully some time for Q&A after. So just some of the expected. We're going to talk about some unexpected strategies, some things even Starbucks uses to maximize profits. Most small business owners aren't thinking about this. We're not thinking about the easy ways to bring in money. And Rachel Rogers showed you some formulas. You talked about $1 million moves. $1 million moves can happen with small things that get compounded over time. But sometimes when we focus on that big move, it's so much harder, right? So we're going to talk about some of those. Obviously, the hidden profit centers and how you manage your cash to align with your profits. Do y'all know that profit and cash are not the same thing? Yes. Have we figured that out? Yes. That first time you get a P&L and it says, your CPA goes, "Congratulations, you got $40,000 worth of profit and you need to pay taxes." And you're like, who's been in my bank account? Where's the money, right? So we'll talk a little bit about that. A little bit about me because I'm new to so many people on the boat. I've been an entrepreneur for about 15 years. I've had 2 businesses. The first one I opened up because on a Wednesday, I found out that I was not going to have a job on Monday. Anybody relate? Accidental entrepreneur. I wrote my business plan in a whole 3 days. Started shop. And I wanted to do what I was doing because I really enjoyed it. I just wanted more control. I wanted my freedom. I wanted to control my destiny. I wanted to be with my kids. And it started off fabulous. We grew quickly. I mean, multiple 6 figures in 9 months. I was like, yes, I'm a rock star. God has a way of humbling me some days. 2008, 2009, right? When we had the Great Recession. I lost 50% of my business. Felt like overnight. I mean, it really did feel like not only did somebody turn off the lights, but they stuffed me in the box and duct taped it. You know, because I struggled for 2 years. In fact, at the end of 2009, when we posted our loss, it was a 5-figure loss. That 5-figure loss was the entire amount of my salary. So you know what I did? I did what every great woman entrepreneur would do. What do you think I did? I didn't pay myself. You know how long it took me to pay myself again? Wow. 9 years. 9 years. Because I was always worried about what happens when the other shoe drops. What if this happens again, right? And in 2018, when I really radically changed how I handled profit and cash flow, that's when things changed. Because in 19, it was October of 19, I was feeling kind of like, I feel like something's brewing. I don't know what's brewing, but I'm feeling. It's like, you know what? I have the ability. I'm going to pay for a year of expenses in advance. Everything. That was the gift to myself come 2020, right? Because in 2020, live speaking is one of my most profitable, effective forms of marketing. Wasn't doing that. My father-in-law wound up having to have a pacemaker implanted on the 17th of March. He passed away the April 29th. Fast, but I could be with him. Like my husband and I were the family in town, and we were like, holy cow, like we got a walker. It came 2 days later, he could no longer walk. I mean, it was that fast of a decline. And then we took care of the estate because my mother-in-law had already passed. If you've gone through that, you know what an emotional roller coaster that is, a physical toll that is. It wasn't until like July that I was even back in my business. Now, I was helping my clients during this time. I was pouring into them because they were impacted too. One client who I'm actually going to show you some of her numbers later, they were producing 80 leads a month. It went down to 20. They were in senior move management. Guess who can't move seniors into homes anymore, right? We had 3 clients in 2020 who had months without income. And their overhead ranged anywhere from $125,000 a month, to something maybe around $50,000 or $60,000 a month. But they could withstand not having any income come in for 3 months. Most businesses can't. In fact, Harvard Business Review estimates that most businesses have between 9 and 16 days worth of cash on hand. And what that looks like is, payrolls at the end of the month, you worry about payroll, you worry about payroll, you worry about payroll, you get to payroll, you suddenly can make payroll, and it starts all over again. That's telling you that your cash on hand is not enough, right? And we're going to fix some of that today. So I really am on a mission to help women, especially because I do believe that when women have money, they pay it forward, be able to get profit flowing in the business. I loved what was shared just before when we were talking about being in the flow. That's a lot of what you need to do to make this possible in your business. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So I'm assuming since you're here that I can count on you that you are committed to do something different. Different enough to get a different enough result. Do I have that from you? How about a hell yeah if that's what you're here for? Oh, come on, really? Hell yeah, right? Why not? It's either a hell yes or a hell no. If it's anywhere in between, don't do it. All right, it's hell yes or hell no. You've got to have that kind of enthusiasm with it. So I hope you can say your hell yeses with a lot of enthusiasm. This is one of the things I wanted to talk about based on what I saw going through conversations and our speakers, is this basic Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We're fairly, yes? Anybody not know what that is? Okay. No? So basically Maslow, social scientist, 1800s, 1700s, talked about that every human has some basic needs. And that as you evolve as a human, you evolve in what your needs are. Okay? So I'm going to go through these, and I want you to think about the speakers, the one that really, really inspired you to think bigger and kind of put them on this Maslow hierarchy of needs. Right? And then I'm going to ask you to put yourself on it. So rung 1, function. You need food, shelter, clothes. Function. Right? Rung 2 is where we get security. You start to trust that number 1's going to happen. And you trust your ability to make it happen. You're also looking for love, right? Some acceptance. Rung 3 is social. So that's connection, belonging, family, but it's also team in a business. Gone are the days when you can be successful by yourself. You don't have to have W-2, but you're going to have support somewhere, right? Esteem and recognition. Now, I saw a lot of people in the esteem and recognition stage because their language is different. right? They're looking for recognition, awareness, confidence. They want status. They want freedom. And they want to be somehow recognized for that, for what they've been able to do. It's a little bit of what drives speakers to get on the stage, to tell you the truth. And number 5, personal achievement and impact. Now, when I think about people that are at this stage where they're talking about world change and legacy and impact at a grander level than themselves, they're always a little breathy. Have you noticed that? And they're very peaceful. And they're very calm. It's interesting, isn't it? So you go from a high level of anxiety to a high level of calm. Even if you're working on a cause that actually fires you up in a different way, you still have a lot of inner calm in there. So thinking about this, here's our first question. So where are you? Are you 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, or you're off the chart to 5? So you just type in A, B, C, or D, or E for your answer. And here's what I'll say is, I don't find that anyone's like in a straight level. You tend to span levels. So as you maybe progress to 3, maybe you still have some trauma that you haven't healed from 1, or just some trust that you're working on in 1, so you dipping down in 1, right? Interesting.
What is 4?
4 is esteem and recognition. So this is where you're probably going out for awards, the best of type of awards.
Like that's what motivates you?
There's a level of wanting to be seen and acknowledged for your accomplishments, to be seen and acknowledged for your leadership and what you've been able to do.
So this is like what drives you in like your life and your business.
Yeah, there's some elements that you may not be totally aware of, but you know, it's interesting there. So we've got a whole gamut, and that's truly what I see. So when you're thinking, here's why I brought this up, because I know when Vicki talked about an example, and she's like, you know, I used to want the house, the car, the blah, 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 but now I want this. I could feel the judgment in the room. Instantly, I could feel people judging themselves in the room. Vicki's up here, right? The car, the house, that's down in here. It's okay if this is where you are. Like a lot of times when people come in, so we had a client come in, $450,000 business. Not a bad business, huh? Way down here. She didn't trust it. She started carrying debt. She was scared. Took her business. In 9 months, we took her from $450,000 to $2 million, and she took home $450,000. So she had $450,000 in revenue. 9 months, putting in some of these principles, we took her from $450,000 to $2 million. She personally took home $450,000. Her profit was $900,000. Yeah, after taxes. No, she has to do 42% in taxes based on her state. So it's just nearly as bad. Just as nearly as bad. She's now, so that's year 1. At the end of year 1, she goes, we're never going to do this again. It's not going to happen. It was a fluke. It was blah. I was like, let's try. Wow. Let's try. So at the end of this year, we're right on course. Here's what's cool. I can see her moving up. She goes, I'm going to go for 2.5. I'm like, yes, let's go, right? Because then you start to trust your business when it can be predictable, when you can rely on it, right? And that actually is very possible for every business. But it keeps us from believing that it's possible for us, right? Okay, so here's a little bit of what we do. So our brand promise is that we can create $100,000 in new profits in as little as 1 year. And we do that to actually impact across the business. So it's team, it's cash flow, it's owner income, it's prepaying growth or investments. I mean, growth and investments kind of go hand in hand, don't they? It's about building financial legacy for the business owner, but then we find that they're give away half of the profits to their team. Either they'll give it away to charitable contributions that the team is involved in. They do bonusing, culture events, training events. Like once we meet the basic needs of the business owner, that's really when the fun, the cup flows over and it goes to other places. But here's what I want to know. How big does your business need to be in revenue in order for you to expect 100,000 in new profits? So where do you need to be today in order for 100,000 in new profits, that's like straight to the bottom line, to occur? Do you need to be at $1 million? 750? What do you need to be at? What do you think? Let's see some guesses. No, just take one good choice. 0, okay. 0 is actually a little hard, right? 0 is a little hard, depending. If you have some track record in the business and you've had some success, like you can get close to high 7 figures, low 6 figures, yeah, it's possible, right? If you're starting brand new in 12 months, it's possible. It depends on you, like your mindset, your readiness, your ability to invest, how quickly you can move, all of those things. I mean, so Rachel Rogers is $1 million in 12 months. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. But you're going to have to get out of your way in order for that to be possible. The only time I can make the 0 work is when I've got somebody that goes, no, baby doll, I got to replace a 6-figure salary and I need to do it in 3 months. Once we get that kind of energy in there, like there's no ifs, ands, or buts. That's what has to happen. And I'm like, great, are you willing to do what I ask you to do? They're like, yes. I went, even if you don't want to, yes, right? So it's really about you in that case. But all of these numbers at $1 million with what I do, and we primarily work with service-based businesses. I want you to be at 3, 4, 500,000 in profit is my goal for you. I've done service-based businesses don't necessarily get into the tens of millions, right? We have to totally break down the business model. But a pure service-based business at 2 to 3 million should be able to be at a 40 to 50% net profit margin, so half, right? So use your head, your heart, or your hand, or your product combination. So my first business was interior design and construction. So head in everything we did, right? We managed the implementation, but we'd also resell product. So that will work there. Where we get off track is an expectation for a product-based business net profit margin, which is the bottom line number, and a service-based businesses is totally different. Totally different. A service-based business can be so much higher at such a lower revenue. Does that make sense? So you actually have a lot more freedom and power and less pressure than a product-based business might want. But the product-based business, like the litmus test, is usually $1 million in sales. That's proof of concept. I think this is why we're so like uber focused on that 1 million number, because we hear it for product-based businesses, right? So we're taking in our desire for more information and to figure out what the rules are, we take in all of this outside information that some relates, some doesn't, right? Some of it is pish-posh, won't work, and some of it's like will surprise you in how well it works. So it's really about being able to discern that, and we'll talk a little bit more. So I love that we've got a lot of numbers down here, and the truth is if this is your intention, you find a way, right? You find a way. So let me tell you a little story, because a lot of people come in and they'll talk about, well, revenue, more clients. And that is an important stage. It's just that you can work yourself to death. You're gonna get to a point, anybody get there, where you cannot take a single more client, you cannot work another hour, you cannot work harder. My first business, honestly, I burned it down. I burned it down to build this business. Looking back, I had other choices, but I was so tired. I just didn't have the heart for it anymore. So let me tell you the story. So anybody know who Stephanie Germanata is? Okay, no, keep it quiet then. So Stephanie is a business owner, right? She has come out and said, I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it for my fans. I'm in it for what I create, my clients. That's what I'm in it for. In fact, I'm pretty sure that she has somewhere on a little Post-it, follow your passion and the money will follow, right? Now, she's very successful. She has an Oscar, 9 Grammys. She's done bazillion world tours. She's had 5 #1 singles. Her name, you may know her, is Lady Gaga. So imagine in 2011, after the Monster Ball tour, her highest grossing tour ever. She calls up her team. She's like, so, how much you got? And they're like, Stephanie, you're broke. She goes, what? In this article of Financial Times, she goes, I didn't even know. And I was like, how in the world can I be broke? I have 5, count them, 1, 2, 3, 5 #1 singles. How am I broke? Like, you're not only just broke, you're $3 million in debt. Yeah, I know, that's kind of fun, huh? Can you imagine having the largest project ever in your business, thinking about all the things that you're going to be able to do with the profits, only to find out that you were $3 million in debt? So she's changed some things. You know, in 2018-19, her estimated worth was $275 million. Remember that different enough? She had to have some different expectations of herself because she was part of the problem. She had to have different expectations of her team because it should never surprise her. Should never be surprised, right? She had to have different expectations of the business. But changing those created the opportunity for her to actually create wealth. I'm of a personal opinion that for 90% of the businesses, your business won't necessarily create wealth. We're talking about unicorns, we're talking about high venture projects where big wealth comes. But your business can create cash. In this afternoon session, when you start hearing more about financial personal literacy, when you have cash, you can build wealth, right? So this is the vehicle. I just choose to use business as a vehicle to get you to the path of wealth. Does that make good sense? Anybody on board with that? So I do have a gift for you. I did ask Carrie if I could share this with you. So if I could give you a gift worth $200 and you could get to your $100,000, would you take it? Would you show up? Okay, so here's the gift. I'll put this, it's gonna be up on the next slide. So this is the URL, you can go to it. It's a very short-lived URL, so you have 30 minutes if you want in on it. But it's a 2-day event, virtual, with me, October 6th and 7th. I'm going to build you the watch to tell you the time today. We're gonna do an activity. This is where I go deeper, where we actually work with the money side of things, where I start to show you what your business is possible for your business, where we start to really outline a customized growth plan that feels good and easy, right? That you can actually implement it and that you can get the support that you need in your business, whatever that support looks like, and you'll know how to pay for it at the end of it. So when you do go to that link, like I said, you'll have 30 minutes. It's just a super quick little opt-in form. But here's some of the bonuses that we give. We're actually going to do a get good with your numbers. So if the P&L is something that makes your head go a little brainy, or you're wondering, like I find that most business owners have this back of the neck feeling about something, but they can't prove it. We're going to talk about how you can actually use your numbers to figure out what that is. I'm also going to give you our How to Hire a Rockstar Team Guide. I smile because I have a client that just brought on 3 new employees, and they are rock stars. They're so happy to be there. They are so excited to be there, and every morning they come into our office like, what can I take off your plate? You're doing too much. Give this to me now. Kunk, and they walk away. Like, who doesn't want that? You were talking about, you know, some of the hiring that you've made and how awesome it is to be able to go home and have the team take care of stuff. That's really what we want to have for our business centers. So that's our little gift to you. I can tell you more about it in a little bit if you'd like, but just so you have that. All right, so interesting, going back to being in the flow and out of the flow. So this is a accelerating graph of technology. You can see It's not the highest quality. I tried to find the biggest one. 1440, all the way up to 2012. This part here that's fairly flat, that's growth. This part here, that's scaling. Does that make sense? I'm going to show you how this relates to business. But the important thing to see here is that the rate of change is happening at an exponential rate. That means your marketing message today could be outdated in a week. Who's had that? Yeah, true that, right? Anything online, it changes so fast. Our consumer, our clients, have more at their fingertips to A, add confusion, to B, answer-ish some of their own questions, and to C, move on. Get distracted from the problem they're trying to solve and go on to the next shiny object, right? We can fight this. And I think we do fight this. We're like, wait, why are you changing? Go back. This isn't working anymore. I can't believe this isn't working anymore. That's when you're trying to stop the flow, right? Instead of going, oh, I have a few metrics that just told me we've got a shift coming. Let's activate plan B. Let's take this next action, and let's take advantage of this kind of rate of change. This is what I like to do. So if you look at this from a business perspective, oh, I want to do this first. This is fun. This is like watching the races. This is a good visual, there it goes, representation of growth and scalability. So we're going to be in growth for 2010, 2011, somewhere in there. And it's basically you've got your front runners, they go back, they go forward, and that's what growth can look like. I'm up 1 year, I'm down 1 year, I'm up again next year, but I'm not really getting traction. I just kind of feel like I'm in Groundhog Day. So here are some fun things that are going to happen. What just happened? Did y'all see it? What? What is it? Google's enters the realm. Google is scaling. Up, here comes Apple. I feel like we're watching a horse race. And he goes over here, he takes it, blah, blah, blah. You can't even talk it fast enough because he's going so fast, right? Interesting. So this is going to stop at 2018, but this is fascinating, right? There's so much to unpack with this. But I just want you to see, here's the people that aren't changing. They're ignoring, right, the signals that are happening. They've got too much organizational structure that is based in what used to work. You can have this in a team of 3. My client that hired 3 people just a couple weeks ago, she had 2 people on her team when we first started working together. They were not growth-minded. They were fixed-minded. It had been the same for a while. They were comfortable with that. They knew what to expect. They didn't have to learn anything new. And as a result, she was like trying to push them through the door the whole time. Those people fall away. Layoffs can be very appropriate, but I find that when you adopt a growth mindset, people opt out. And I'm happy to help them opt out so that the right people can opt in. So interesting. So there was a conversation on the VC panel where they were talking about productization, okay? And that is a transition that a service-based business can have. But these guys, they did a different transition, didn't they? They went to service. Yes, Apple sells Apple phones. That is just a mode of delivery for their service. It's not where they make the money, even though they charge a lot for it. Not where they make the money, right? Microsoft, going to subscription-based model, treating it as a service. So it's interesting, this dance between service to product back to service. So as a service-based business, we tell ourselves this isn't possible for us. But maybe it is. Maybe we just have to rethink how that service gets delivered, or step into a product to step back into a service. So there's a lot of ways to do this. There's a lot of strategies. Is this cool? Yeah.
That's the coolest thing I've ever seen in a presentation.
Oh my God, I love it. Thank you. It popped up in my LinkedIn stream, and I was like, what? Go back. It is so good. It is very good.
What year was this? From 2010 to 2018?
18 is where it stopped. So yeah, about 2002, I think, to 18. I haven't gone out to see if it's been updated since, but still so much goodness in it. So let's look at how this applies to business. So there are old paradigms and there are new paradigms. And we are still holding on to some of the older paradigms because we haven't learned what the new ones are. Does that make good sense? Okay, so growth is one of these paradigms. 15 years ago, let's say 2000, good growth in a business, like really good growth in a business, was considered to be 14.4%. If it was repeated every year for 5 years, you doubled the business. That was the gold standard, right? But growth actually devours cash. So if you're in a growth mode, you're draining money. There's a couple of reasons for that, which we'll talk about. And typically, for service-based businesses, you're relying a lot on credit to fund, right? You're constantly chasing the dollar, which is why you take on more clients, which is why you take on poor fit clients that really cost you more than they brought in the first place, right? It can be a vicious cycle. Most people never get off this train. Then if we put in the scalability type it, we're actually looking for hyper-accelerated growth, the exponential growth. This is where cash is produced. So does that make good sense? Service-based business, high 6 figures to 7. The reason why I say high 6 figures, one of our company values is that we don't judge. We don't judge your numbers, your zeros, your journey, or where you want to go. It's only our job to get you there. We have some clients that just want to be at mid 6 figures. That's what they want because they have other priorities. We have some clients that are like, hell no, I need 7 figures. I want that. That's my affirmation, right? So we'll help them get there. When you're here, though, you're typically what you want to get into a situation, especially as a service-based business, is to be able to self-fund your own growth. You have hardly any assets to be able to leverage for loans. Anybody tried to get a loan as a service-based business? You're personal guaranteeing everything, right? There's not a way to maintain that separation. So we use scalability to self-fund the next level of growth. And here's the crazy thing is growth and scalability, it's not like check off growth done, check off scale done. You go through cycles. So you grow because you've got to make foundational investments. Then you scale to maximize those investments and produce cash. Then you recover because it's just like you walk through mud and then you went to fly for a while. You need a moment of recovery, right? It's that same kind of self-care practice that needs to be in our business. So it's a little bit, I was listening to Masters of Scale, Reid Hoffman podcast, and he was talking with the CEO of Moderna. And he's like, well, it's kind of like driving a company that some days you have your foot on the gas and some days you have the foot on the brake. It's knowing when to do this that's really the key. So you recognizing which stage you're in and what your goal is, and is the way that you're trying to grow your business in alignment. A lot of times it's out of alignment. And we've got to get them back into it. We like to come in over here. I can help the zeros, like I said, but you've got to have an aggressive goal to get up there for it to really work. Blitz scaling. Has anybody heard of this concept? So it's from Reid Hoffman as well. It's a book. It's a fairly good book. Don't agree with all of it, but some really good nuggets in there. Blitz scaling is what we're seeing with fintech, medtech, like a lot of the words that the verticals that the VCs were talking about. That is blitz scaling. Blitz scaling is messy. It is like not only are you building the plane while you fly it, but you're breaking the plane as you build it constantly. That's why it burns cash. That's why there's so much risk for a venture capitalist in this area. But the payoff could be huge. So what I see is that service businesses need to be on this side of the curve, but are trying to be on that side of the curve and trying to find somebody from a venture capital to invest in them. And what you'll hear is, that's not our vertical, that's not, it's really not a good position for you. They're trying to be as kind as they can. But in honesty, it's a different beast altogether. So I think as a lot of service businesses, I'd rather you maintain your equity And I filled your coffers, you know? And I funded your retirement, and I fund your vacations, and you fund your employees' retirements. That to me is a lot of fun. This is cool too, don't get me wrong. It's just not always appropriate. Does that help explain some of the things you've heard? Okay, that was what I was redoing. Anybody saying it this trick? You're gonna laugh at me. I was in the shower, and I was like, oh, and I totally drew all over the glass window. This. I was like, I gotta get it out of my brain. So this was my shower moment today. You have great ideas in the shower, right? Always. Okay. So we're gonna start talking about profitability next. I'm gonna do a quick time check. So what is the first thing that needs to happen for you to expect profitability? A, gotta have enough time. I mean, I don't have enough time. I can barely get everything done that I need to do. Enough revenue, enough clients. We've earned enough. Learned enough, sorry. So we got some B's. Any more answers out there? This is kind of fun to be able to do this, isn't it? Yeah. I like having fun. Yeah. Okay. I'm over learning. Is anyone over learning? I mean, I'll never be done learning. But honestly, it's almost like I'd rather hire somebody that already did the learning. I'm getting tired. Yeah.
I guess I'm not sure how to answer this because isn't there always profitability? Is it just when can you expect the kind of profitability you want?
There's not always profitability. I've had 7-figure businesses to where the owner's been like, I'm gonna shut the puppy down, go get a job because I'll make more and I'll get to take some time off. Because they're paying themselves out of the profit, and maybe there's 50,000 off of $1 million revenue, and it's hard, right? Usually, then it is profit, but it's not, to your point, not enough to make the whole journey worth it. So interesting. It's a trick question. I like them. Do you like them? Okay, it's a trick question. It's enough to get you to think about what are your preconceptions, like what are the obstacles that you've set up in front of yourself that have to be accomplished first, and then you can be profitable. Because when we do that, we think about a couple of things. So here's I like the truth bombs that Vicki talked about. I was like, I love that. So revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is queen. A business is a commercial enterprise that can work without you and returns on investment. So a business is a commercial enterprise, they're an exchange of money that can work without you and can return on investment. There's nobody that puts in the time and the money like you do. So Arlen was talking about that, like she finally realized, I've got to stop feeding the beast. It's got to be able to sustain itself. So here's our first thing. So that trick question is because we tend to treat profit as a reward. Someday, when we have enough staff, when we have that gorgeous client that's gonna pay us exactly what we want, then, and if I'm good enough, and I've learned enough, and I've worked hard enough, then I get profits. But the interesting thing is that whatever that guidepost is, I was explaining this at dinner with knives and forks last night. It's like whatever that finish line goal is, when we get to it, we go, oh, I should have done it better. It should have been bigger. What? And we move it out the line, and we race up to it, and we get to the finish line again, and we're like, oh, but I should have done it better. I should have done it bigger. I mean, so-and-so does it. Why, look at them, right? We discount every little gain that we get, but there's no profit fairy. I know, you should see him. He has a tattoo belly. He's lovely. He makes me laugh. But you'll never forget it, right? There's no profit fairy. So are you holding yourself back? It's a big question today, yesterday. Statistically, women are 20% less confident than their male counterparts in entrepreneurship. We've all heard the parity gap when it comes to wage earning. Okay, so women earn either 50 to 75% less than a man. And we talk about how that's not our fault. You know, that comes right over into business, where a woman will charge 75% less than a man. And confidence has a lot to do with it. Profitability has a lot to do with confidence, right? So think about that. I'll let you ponder that. One of the things that we need to change is our money attitude. Now, you've been hearing that a lot. Let me tell you what doesn't work in business. Breaking even. Who wants to pay taxes? I want to pay taxes. Taxes are a privilege of profit, right? But if you're constantly trying to get out of paying taxes, what are you doing in your business? Isn't that funny? You're sabotaging it. You're allowing the profit to go because your fear of the tax is greater than your desire for the profit. Oftentimes, your profit doesn't have enough purpose. And I'll show you, I talked about the senior mood management. We're going to look at her purpose to her profit. Business is not about balancing a checkbook. That's the greatest financial training we have coming into it, right? So what we want to do is really talk about building reserves, right? Everybody has a magical number. 3 to 6 months, that's a really good target. But I had a client that it needed to be 9 months because they do governmental contracting, and it takes 9 months for them to pay. They will pay someday, right? So that number is very individual, and it's good to know it. You plan for taxes. There are no surprises in our world. There are no surprises. The only surprise I want to have is go, hey, guess what? We saved such and such for taxes. You get 50 grand back. That's a surprise I like to deliver. But we plan for taxes, and we plan from day one. So this is a bit of Profit First. Anybody heard of Profit First, read it? Book's a little hard to read to me. It's a little more complicated than I think we have to necessarily go, but it puts in some really good strategies. Anybody's grandma do the envelope system? You remember that? That's all that is. It's the envelope system, right? It's just putting purpose to the profits. So here's our profit iceberg. I'm going to go over, and then I'm going to let you choose which one we're going to dive into. So cost, price, that's what everybody goes to all the time. Then, just like an iceberg, it's what's under the water that you don't know that's killing you. Scope creep, over delivery, time slippage, and product mix. I will put this back up here in a sec. Which one do you want to hear about? Product mix. So, oftentimes, what I'll come in and do, we do a business audit for businesses that have been in business for a little bit, and we'll look at where their profit centers are. A lot of times, your product mix is part of your problem.
What's a scope creep?
Do you want to know about that?
Yeah, what is it?
Well, vote.
Oh, yes, again.
Otherwise, I'll tell. I'm sorry. I'm totally playing with you guys. Scope creep, sensuous moment. Do y'all know what sensuous is? Over delivery. Okay, so we'll hit scope creep and we'll try to do the other two. Scope creep, sensuous. So I'm from Texas, right? We have certain words. I sit on the sofa, my husband's sitting next to me, and I can tell when he's getting restless, like he's gonna get up. And I'm like, yes. And the minute he stands up, I'm like, since you're up, you wanna get me some water?
You're hilarious.
Since you're already doing 3 floral arrangements, would you like to do a wreath too and throw it in? Since you're already working on my website, what about you redo my blog? How about you write some articles? Sensuous. Now, I believe everyone's coming from a really good place. So I'm not going to get mad at the person asking because we ask ourselves, right? But it doesn't mean I have to say yes. And I can say no in a very healthy, positive way. Right? But managing scope creep, especially for a service business, is a big issue, right? It's the death of 1,000 cuts. All right, we talked about over delivery. Women do this, especially if I come in and I say, your price, based on all this stuff, it needs to increase about 30%. And you're like, what? Nobody will pay for that. I mean, everybody tells me that I'm too expensive as it is. I'm like, that's okay, we'll figure it out. We'll position it properly, because you have to have a plan. You'll sell your first one, and you'll work the ever living out of it. Because you're trying to prove to them you think you're trying to prove to them your value, but you're really trying to prove yourself the value for what you're charging. This is a confidence issue. Now, at the same time, I am a huge over-deliverer. Like, one of our values is extreme generosity. I want to be able to practice that. You're in my call, we're in a call, we're only in an hour appointment, and we're just getting to the good stuff at minute 57. I'm not going to hang up on you. I'm like, are you kidding me? I might not get that moment back with you. I'm going to work you through what we needed to break through, and I'm not going to charge you for that, because I'm in it for the result. But that's an example of over-delivering. I've constructed my business to support that, not to have it hurt my business. Does that make sense? Like, if you know about anybody over-deliver, anybody like to do the little extras?
I love giving gifts.
Oh my gosh.
Like before the retreat, after the retreat, during the retreat.
Yeah, and your people love to get gifts.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love to get gifts, right? It makes you feel good, it makes them feel good. But have you ever thought about how that's part of your model and how to make that fiscally possible? So you're not cutting yourself off at the knees, right? And so it's things like that. Price. So where are we? See where we are. I know okay, we still have 15 minutes. Price is really interesting. So there's only one place in the world where price is a problem. Are you ready for it? There's only one place in the world where price is a problem, in between your two ears, right? People will pay for something. Have you ever had somebody that, oh, well, I'll buy my groceries at Walmart, but I'm buying my clothes at Nordstrom's. What am I paying for? Service, ease. Would you like a belt with that? Why, yes, I would. I do not want to walk over to the other side of the store to go get it. Will you do that? Yes. You know? And I know that I'm paying for it, but that's what I want, right? So price is all relative. And let me give you a quick story of a client. So Julie started working with us. She owns a boutique fitness studio, so a bar studio. Y'all have them out here, I'm assuming? They're everywhere. Okay. She goes and gets all of her clients onto the subscription model, which means they have to sign a contract. She's like, crap, what happens if I lose people? I'm going to give them a discount. Make it $99 a month for a year. That's the contract I'm going to have them sign. Well, that $99 discount dropped her profits by $20,000 a month. Didn't think about that. So we looked at a couple of things and we're like, okay, obviously a problem. Agreed? Agreed. So we did some market study, more because she needed affirmation, right? We looked at where the market was in the 5 closest studios, chose a price range that she was comfortable with. This is my thing with pricing. You choose the number that you're comfortable with, and then I want you to go 20% further. That's the right? I can get you up more, but just stretch yourself a little bit. So we did this, and we actually had some time. We had 6 months before all these contracts were up for renewal. So we looked at what the value was that she provided, what made her business different. And people came for the workout, but they stayed for the community because they always felt accepted, no matter age, size, shape, it did not matter. Everyone felt like they could come to that studio and work out to better themselves, and nobody judged them. So we put in a 6-month plan that doubled down on community. Some of it was social media. What a great move, right? That's good for future business too. but we showed community, and we showed happiness, and we showed diversity. We showed them, and then we told them in fun ways all the reasons why they were continuing to buy each and every day. And it was just really good service. So she gets to the end, she goes, I'm gonna have a conversation with 100 people. Anybody willing to do that? To have sales conversations with 100 people. How many people said no? We went from 99 to 159. How many people said no? Almost. One. One person said no. You wanna know why? They were moving.
What did you say you were double down on?
I call it the reason to buy. It's the value that you're providing. So for her and her community, it was community and belonging, level 3. Maslow's hierarchy of needs has a lot of uses. We just doubled down on that. Does that make good sense?
Oh, yeah. I got the last part, but I missed that part.
Yeah. I probably turned my head away from the mic.
No, it's just air conditioner.
That could be too. So I'm going to show you our senior move management. So like I said, COVID hit. We were bringing them out of a really slumpy period. They're one of my clients. I say we're in triage for about a year to get the business back to stability and into profitability. And then COVID hit and really hit something hard. So 2019, they were struggling to make payroll. They had 20 people on their payroll. They built up credit card debt over the 3 years. And here's the reason they built up the credit card debt. Mom and dad owned the business. Dad gets diagnosed with cancer, passes away in less than a year. Mom is obviously distraught and grief-ridden. Daughter, who's been working down here in the business, takes over. So I think it's pretty darn fabulous that somebody that was no business training kept a business afloat for 3 years. You know, that's pretty amazing. But what we found is they had 9 days cash on hand, okay? They were completely stuck in that. The old paradigm, what got them here was not going to be what got them forward. By the beginning 2020, we had built it up to 20 days, which was pretty fabulous. Obviously, we plummet to 4 days on hand. We had cash flow calls every day. And we use a predictive cash flow tool that shows you out for 10 years what your cash flow might look like. With 4 days of cash, all we needed is one transaction to be forgotten about to sink the ship. So we were doing cash flow days, calls every day. July of 2021, this is what happens. This is the envelope system. It's written on a piece of paper. It doesn't have to be complicated. So her net, 54,000, right? Take off of a zero of 54,000, move the decimal over and have it be 5,400. Same process works. Taxes, 4%, I think is a little low, but that's what she and her CPA worked out. Reserves, do you see how much she's building to reserves? Because they have down months, right? Owners, look who's getting paid. This is the second time she's getting paid. She's getting paid as a salary as well. This is her second payment as an owner. So she's getting paid for the role that she provides. Anybody ever think about selling your business?
At some point.
At some point. You have to show that somebody can be hired to replace you. Yes, ma'am.
Is this for a month, a year?
This is a month.
Okay.
This is one of the good months, but this is a month. But I want you to see what happens down in here. So 50% of the net income is going to her profit buckets. These are what's important to her. She's paying down a loan and debt. Right? So she's making headway there. We're not trying to pay it all off at once because it's not a good cash flow decision. Bonuses and Christmas. We're saving for Christmas in July. Right? I thought you'd be so excited to see this. And of course I was excited to see that. But you'd be excited to see something relative in your own business.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What would you suggest? Okay, so there's like this concept of cash is king
Yep.
and not having a debt.
Right?
And then there's the concept of using other people's money to
Yep.
grow and scale your business.
Yep.
I definitely fall in the let me put all my cash into this and not and like that was an old
Yeah.
scarcity thing
Yeah.
that healed.
Uh-huh.
And now I'm like, okay, leveraging other people's money,
Yeah.
I don't have the, I guess, qualifications for the other people's money thing. So how do you bridge that gap?
Reserves. It's the easiest time to get other people's money is when you don't need it.
Right, and I don't need it right now.
But can you show that on your profit and loss, your balance sheet and your cash flow?
No.
Then it doesn't matter.
Personal.
It doesn't
So
matter.
it doesn't count. Okay.
It doesn't matter.
Got it.
So that's the interesting thing of knowing what the big long-term goals are, which we're going to do here, a quick activity. But knowing what those are means how you structure the numbers to tell the story you want to tell so you can do what you want to do. It's a story. It's numbers. It's a whole other skill set, yes. But oftentimes, like I was talking with the business, amazing business, do amazing things. And they're like, we can't get any funding. We can't get any funding. And if we could just get the funding, I could do all of this stuff. And I was like, I can see that, but your numbers say something different. And that's the story they listen to. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to do a quickie. I want to leave you with a quickie exercise. So you want that? Okay. So we have like 9 minutes. I want you to take your piece of paper and I want you to divide it into 3 columns. All right? First column is going to be experiences, just like this. Second column is going to be growth. Third column will be contribution. Now, I've always operated and taught on this formula of B times do equals half. You have to be the person you need to be in order to do the things you need to do, in order to have the things you want to have, right? We're going to kind of flip it, and I like this evolution of it. This is from Mind Valley, so I'm leveraging the 3 questions exercise. If you want to go out to YouTube, you can find that. But here's what, has everyone got the 3 columns? Okay, I'm getting my clock out. You're going to love me. My clients love me when I do this. You are going to have 60 seconds per column. Do you know why you have so little time? Say again? Don't overthink, right? I want you to feel, not think, okay? So the first one we're going to focus on is experiences. Here we go. What are the experiences you are craving in your life? This could be with people. It could be travel. It can be your environment. I want to walk out my bedroom door and smile because there's not one single remodeling project left. I have nothing left to do. That's one of my experiences, right? When I did this earlier, I want to fly first class. I never want to fly main again. I want to fly first class. What kind of adventures do you want to have? Do you want to just be able to walk around and go antique shopping? Do you want to go to Italy? Oh, Shana left. Shana's going to Italy. Yeah, she's going to Italy for 11 days. My senior move management, when we first started working, she's like, I'm getting married. My husband threatened to divorce me after the marriage if I'm not on a honeymoon for at least a month. I don't know how that's going to work. All right, so that's 1 minute. So we're going to go to the next column, growth. So this is your B. So what growth experiences or what growth do you need to go through in order to have the experiences you just jotted down? 60 seconds. So is it personal growth? Do you need to work on your health? Do you need to work on your mindset? Right? Is it intellectual growth? You need to have a bigger understanding. Is it spiritual growth? Right? Is it energy work? Is it healing from trauma? How do you need to grow? And then it can be skills and habits. Like I need to meditate for 15 minutes every day. Right? I know I need to, but man, it's really easy to sit down to the computer and go. So growth. How do you need to grow? Who do you need to become? Maybe you need to be a better money manager. All right, 13 more seconds. Four, 3, 2, 1. All right, last column. Contribution. This can be very busy related, But busy isn't great for business. In fact, it sinks business. Busy is bad for business, right? Contribution, though, says that what you do matters. It has impact. It moves the needle. So, with these experiences, with this growth, what is the contribution you want to have in your professional life? I want to do a scholarship for my employees' children because education is really important to me. There's some companies that say, we want to fund the entire budget of a charity for 1 year, the entire fundraising budget. What's your creative life? Kelly said this earlier. You're creators. Even if you do the most technical thing as a business owner, you created something from absolutely nothing. How are you continuing to create? Your family life, your friend life, your elected family, how are you making contributions in there and to your community at large? I forgot to give you that timer, so I'll give you 30 more seconds.
Oh, I didn't do it.
So contribution. And if you're finished, raise your hand because we have just a couple more minutes, I think, in the session. Okay. So interesting, what I'm going to ask you to do is take a look at this list. Where is the thing that you could allow yourself to have or to become or to impact tomorrow, but for whatever reason, you're not? I wasn't allowing myself to fly first class. I wanted to be there. As soon as I got onto the plane, I was like, oh, what am I doing? And it was always sold out. But when it came to actually paying for the ticket, I would back out because it didn't feel responsible to me. And that's part of my money story and things I'm overcoming, right? So now I don't even look at the main cabin. I'm like, nope, first class only. If I can't compare, then I can't choose, right? That's how I'm working my way around things, right? It was so fun to fly first class out here. I told my husband, I was like, I'll never go back. He's like, you've done it once. I was like, yeah, okay, once. I'm 48 years old. Come on. I deserve more than that. Is there anything there that you're keeping from yourself? Is there anything there that your business needs to fund? Right? Because that's a choice too. All right, so here's the event special. Right? 30 minutes if you want to come for free. If not, you can pay for the ticket. It will ultimately be $199. Hey, I'll take the money. I'm a commercial enterprise, right? If you want my contact information, you can take a picture of the QRC and you can share yours with me. So I always like to be connected to people I've spoken to. And until they drag me off the stage, any questions? Yeah, go for it.
So, how do you work with people? Are you are you a part of the strategy? Technologies? Is it like a system you're selling?
There are 3 ways that we can work together. So one is think of it as a doctor's visit.
Sure.
You're good at the execution. You just need to know what to do, and you need the strategy. So we do business audits for those things. I'd say 50% of the people take it and run. 50% of the people are like, can you help? And we do. Right? So it's just a really good way. Then we do have a group program to make what we do fiscally attractive for people. Still honoring that 100,000. That's what our goal is for our people. 6 months program. So that's kind of it's a done with you. So I don't here's all the stuff. Boom.
Yeah.
Right? You're not going to do that. We actually give you we call it the incubator because it's much more we're working with you. And so I'm there in strategy. I do ask that you do some things on your own and come to me with stuff, so that we can be impactful. And then our one-to-one, that's where I just need you to show up, right? I just need you to show up and we'll get it done. So we partner with our clients at a whole nother level. I've yet to see a consultant that does what we do. Like I say, we're geared to over-deliver because I work with smart women who are good at what they do. If they knew how to get where they wanted to go, that would have happened like 3 years ago, right? So it's just it's a different kind of environment.
What's normally the like time frame? Obviously, everyone's goals are different.
Mhm.
But like, what's the typical?
So the program is 6 months. You can get a lot done in 6 months. 1 year. I asked for 1 year.
Not the group program.
No, for one-to-one, I asked for 1 year.
Okay.
People tend to stay with me 2-ish years. But what we do is so fundamental in the business that the results that we create in 1 year, 2 years, maybe even a third, happen for year 4, year 5, year 6. As long as you keep up the habits, it will keep working for you.
Interesting. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you work with people that like have inconsistent income streams?
Everyone has inconsistent income streams, though.
Well, I guess let me rephrase.
Okay.
So like the entertainment industry,
Yeah.
for example,
Yeah.
where there's no guarantee of what you're making, when
Mhm.
you're making it.
Mhm.
It can be large 1 month,
Yep.
small 1 month.
Yep.
Like how do you work in comparison to like a business or product-based business or like a gym that has a certain amount of
Yeah.
members versus an independent contractor who's kind of at the mercy of their clients or their jobs?
So, I didn't mean to be snarky, but hardly anybody has consistent month-to-month recurring revenue. It's a nice thing to build into a business if it's applicable for your business. Most people have hills and valleys, not even mountains, like hills and valleys, right? And so we put the structure to do this so that structurally you're even if your business is doing this. That's what enables you to weather any storms. So if you lose a client, you're not going to freak out. You're going to be like, I'm covered. I mean, I need to go get another client, but I'm covered. So that's that security and stability that really comes from structure. And it's part profit plan, part pricing and making sure that you're top notch and that the systems are squared away for you. But then it's about that cash flow management and the profitability management. But I have clients that are 6 months on, 6 months off. They work like mad fiend for 6 months, and then they're down. The senior move management, their down months are horrid. They're absolutely horrid. So that was the first thing we looked at doing is building the structure to stabilize so that you could take these in stride. So, yeah. I told them I was going to answer questions until you kicked me off. So I'm off. Thank you, guys.